can start with your name.
All right. My name is Gul K, and I'm an architect and I'm a lecturer at Queen's University in Belfast.
Yeah. And you have been written about architecture and film in several publications. According to the Queen's University webpage, that was in 1994, you start your main research about architecture and cinema. But how important were movies for you when you were growing up?
I guess they were quite important. I never thought I would use them as my, career main issue. And studying architecture is different than studying film studies, obviously. But I always found films really magical as a kid. I never wanted to watch a bit of a film and then stop it, see the second half later on. If I start, I'm immersed into the experience and I want to go all the way to the end because it's a whole, it's a magical whole. And I really, really like to go to the movies and the lights are down and everybody is in darkness, everybody is experiencing the same thing. But everybody has a different background, so their perception is different. So the experience of cinema going was quite magical for me as well when I was a
kid. Do you think people share the same interest in movies as you do?
As much as I do, I don't know, because I'm really passionate about film. But I think people love movies. I mean, although we have the internet and anything can be downloaded or watched online, we have YouTube, everything. But people still go to the movies. People either watch films at home or they watch films in the movies. So I think there is a passion about this form of art.
In your research, you discussed how movies might become a gateway for developing a city and buildings. Which movie do you think is the best to demonstrate this?
The link between cities and cinema. There's plenty, but I guess the one architects love is Blade Runner. It's the movie everybody watches. It's from 80s, but it's such a timeless movie. I think everybody, even my students, they still enjoy watching it. There's also Metropolis, made in 1920s by Fritz Lang. I think Metropolis is inspiring architects a lot as well. A contemporary of Metropolis would be a semi-documentary, semi-narrated documentary called Berlin, Symphony of a Great City. And it's interesting to look at them together because Metropolis is this futuristic and dystopian city. It's such a bad vision of the future, whereas Symphony really glorifies the industrialization and the industrial movement in the city of Berlin. There's plenty more, let's see. There are really good New York films, say Woody Allen does films, and there's Taxi Driver, there's Hitchcock's Rear Window, which doesn't really show New York, but it's a New York movie. There's good London films, Rome films. Berlin has many more, like Germany Year Zero by Rossellini. That's one of my favorites. And Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire is another Berlin film, which is really phenomenal. These are the ones that come into my mind on the spot.
What movie that made you want to study them? Go that far that you want to, this is what your profession is you want to do?
It wasn't a certain film. But it was about the link between architecture and film. When I studied architecture, I love what I'm doing. I love my profession. And I wanted to learn more about architectural design, more about buildings. And I thought when I had my undergraduate education, I thought everything we did was a bit too abstract. We were doing everything on paper. It was drawings, models, all these discussions around maps. I wanted to learn more about the tangible qualities of architecture. You can touch architecture, you can smell architecture, you can hear architecture. And those qualities are hard to represent in the medium of drawing or model making. So I thought to represent, as Plasma calls it, lived space, a space that lives with the people, to understand a space in that way, I need something less objective, more subjective, and film served that purpose really well. I see film space as a representation of architectural space. I love film, but the reason why I study film is that film really represents buildings, spaces, and cities well.
Do you think architecture and interior designer take inspiration from movies?
They do. They talk about that as well. I mean, there's several architects who mention importance of movies in their work. Le Corbusier would be one of them. His link with the Russian director Eisenstein would be one in early 20th century. Jean Nouvel mentions it about his work. I think Ram Koolhaas is affected by film as well, so there's plenty. Even if they don't talk about it, I believe they are influenced by the medium of cinema.
Do you think futuristic movies have an influence of how we imagine the future?
Yes, definitely. I think futuristic films, science fiction films, has a great impact, a very positive impact on our future and on our present. I believe futuristic films are not about the future, but they are about today. They are presenting the future through our perspective today. So to understand, say, 80s, looking at Blade Runner makes really sense. I don't think Blade Runner will be used to understand 2017. That was the year it intended to be. But really, it's an 80s movie. So in that case, yes. I think science fiction films are usually very pessimistic. They're dystopias, so they talk about the problems we might face, like problems socially, culturally, ecologically, or in terms of urbanism. All these problems are put together in futuristic films, and that helps us understand a possible condition in the future. And in that way, I think a discussion opens up about how to solve these problems if they happen to be. And they're usually quite realistic at the beginning, about the future, the pessimist future, so it's a good discussion. Actually, my PhD is on science fiction cinema, and what I was trying to do, I was linking architectural space with digital spaces. So I was looking one type of digital space in reality, the way we have it now, and then looking at the same space in a futuristic film. So because the technology we have today, it's limited, but we roughly know where it's going through science fiction films. So I was talking more on the topic through futuristic films, which was a great tool for me for my PhD.
Would you call the movie makers of the future design, would you call them the designers of the future movie maker?
Yes. I think, especially in futuristic movies, there is so much to design. I think when Minority Report came out, I mean, it's not the best futuristic movie, but in terms of design of alive. How we use the objects we use, the spaces we inhabit, the technologies we use in the future, possibly. In terms of those, I think Minority Report was a fantastic film when it came out. Or let's take 2001 by Stanley Kubrick, A Space Odyssey. That film was made together with Arthur C. Clarke in 1968. And the designs in that movie, I think some of them we still are not there, but we went in the same direction, definitely, that Kubrick designed. Obviously, the director doesn't design everything. He has an art director, and they work hand in hand. But for instance, there's a milk bar scene in that movie where mannequins of naked women were used as tables and chairs. They're all white in a bar context. That design, the idea came from Kubrick, from an exhibition he saw, and then the art director realized it using different techniques. So it's the combination of the direction and art direction in a film that I think designs our future, and then through the film, these designs influence our present time.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much.